Bom dia. And that is nearly the extent of my Portuguese abilities. So I will try and speak slowly and allow time for the translator to translate my presentation. Today, we're going to be discussing a few different things. You'll notice a little different format of this presentation compared to what you would typically see in this sort of conference. So, imagine with me, if you will, Bambi. Seems a little odd, but go with me. So Bambi is here, but Bambi needs more to survive. Bambi needs water, food, there's clouds, air, the sun, but there's more to Bambi's ecosystem. Air is also cleaned by trees, so Bambi needs trees. So now there's trees in the environment. We've added animals that also exist with Bambi, an entire ecosystem full of plant life, animals, butterflies, all sorts of wildlife. This complex ecosystem survives based on relying on each other. Each thing in the ecosystem is in equilibrium. There's water, food, shelter, different species, all working together and all relying in some way on each other. But what happens when you remove water? Suddenly, the entire ecosystem falls apart. A metalworking fluid is similar. It's a complex environment. We have performance needs, customer preference, regulatory drivers, industry trends. All of these you're familiar with. Fluid longevity as an industry need, staining, customer preferences, certain chemistries they don't want to use or can't use based on their end users. Regulatory drivers being what biocides are available based on new GHS classifications. And of course, industry trends, lower sumps, smaller sumps, and of course, other various alloys that we now have to machine. So everything is connected in a very unique and complex ecosystem. If we go back to Bambi, sitting nicely in their field with everything else, and replace Bambi, maybe not, with a bear. It's easy for us to see how this entire ecosystem would change. Bambi isn't worried about the fish, the bear is. In this system, it's simple to draw the correlation on how everything is connected and how this one change would affect everything else. Bambi is an animal, the bear is an animal. They're both even mammals, but they're different. It can be difficult to convey that message to our end users or even within our organization on how one change that seems very simple can affect the entire ecosystem of a formulation. At Angus Chemical, we understand that you have different needs. You have changing needs. And changing out one piece of your formula can affect the rest of the formulation. We understand that changing out one amine and putting in another amine doesn't mean everything stays the same. If we replace Bambi with a bear, the ecosystem changes. So what we've tried to do is, since we can't stand in your lab with you, we've attempted to bring you into our lab. What you see here are small versions of the videos that have been playing out in the atrium. What we're trying to help outline is how changes from one chemistry based on your regulatory needs or customer preferences can be addressed with using ANGUS chemistries, and what you can expect will be affected in your formulation. So, for example, what we're showing here is not only simply formulating with our chemistries, as we understand you can't even begin to get some of the benefits we talk about without being able to put our chemistry into your formula. We also talk about some of the performance characteristics that you'll see, and alongside that, what you might have to change or tweak in your formulation in order to accommodate the changes that you've made in your metalworking fluid ecosystem. So, in understanding our total ecosystem, we understand that nothing operates in isolation. The metalworking fluid industry is constantly changing. New regulations are coming out, new customer preferences. And for us to imagine that everything operates in isolation is for us to assume that putting a bear in place of Bambi would make no effect. We also notice that there are some challenges in our specific ecosystem that other regions might not have to worry about. In Bambi and the bear, the temperature might be one. For us, it's what region we're formulating in, or the customer base and what they need in their formulations. We understand that there are a multitude of different relationships, and we're here to help connect those different relationships. Some things are quite predictable, and that's what the videos that you had seen previously are here to help work through. When changing different pieces of an ecosystem, it's difficult to see what might be actually affected. But some things are quite predictable, and we know what those things are, whether it be changes in the effect on fluid longevity, performance improvement on staining, or what could be affected in a staining performance. We're here to help, and we have the application data to help support your needs. Of course, we know your formulations are different than our laboratory formulations, but we're still here to help understand what changes might be affected. And with that, trying to understand what your fluid actually needs. At ANGUS Chemical, so you're probably aware, we make a line of multifunctional amino alcohols. However, that doesn't mean that you need all of these multifunctional benefits. Maybe you need aluminum staining but aren't concerned with fluid longevity. Perhaps you need fluid longevity but aren't concerned with aluminum staining. With that in mind, we take a multidimensional look at your formulation and try and create a scenario that fits what you need, what your customers need. And beyond that, what else do you need? ANGUS has a multifunctional set of chemistries in metalworking fluid, but we have this performance attribute in other industries as well. So we began to think, what are we missing that you, as metalworking fluid formulators who work in this environment and understand end user needs every day, what are we missing? Is there something else that we could be adding into our portfolio? And how do we use our ANGUS ecosystem to help create something different for the metalworking fluid market? With leveraging our experience across these different market spaces, we were able to open up something different and try something a little different for the metalworking fluid customers. So what did we learn from all of this? It's a great question. If we have access to these different environments and we have access to different chemistries, what can we do to help make something different? Well, we understand that almost all markets are seeking something new, something renewable, something sustainable. Meeting sustainability can mean different things in different market spaces. Perhaps it means sustainability to your customer base. Perhaps it means sustainability from an environmental concern perspective. Whatever it may be, we understand that you're looking for something different. And so, we're attempting to adapt to our environment, to our metalworking fluid ecosystem, to the changing landscape. And we're applying our ANGUS technologies that we have in the other areas of our portfolio and leverage that knowledge and that expertise that we have in those areas and our knowledge that we have in our amino alcohol functionality and metalworking fluid, as well as our expertise in manufacturing, to bring something different to the metalworking fluid space. This new offering is to help the lower cost formulation space that we're all having to meet based on end user requirements mostly, but also the higher standards that we still have to work in, whether it be higher standards in regulatory compliance, higher standards in multi-metal machining, whatever it may be, trying to meet those different standards while also creating something cost-effective to be competitive in our landscape. With that, ANGUS is on the brink of releasing a new product to the metalworking fluid market. Our next CoreGuard innovation, you can imagine, is the same regulatory sort of profile you've come to know with our ANGUS technologies up to this point. It's widely registered in all major geographies and is primary amine technology. So understanding if you have to be globally compliant for secondary amine, this product is something that you can still look at for your portfolio and your use. In neutralization, you can expect effects similar to that of DGA, but more efficient to chemistries such as DIA or MEA. In cast iron corrosion, you can expect something slightly improved to maintain performance from what you were seeing. And in aluminum staining, which we show here, performance improvement depending on your current amine selection. We're continuing to develop this data set, and what we found out through our studies is that this chemistry has been beneficial in the neutralization space and also creating something cost-effective. It's brought benefits in the regulatory space as well as aluminum staining and maintained performance in our corrosion control. We're still analyzing our fluid longevity, but as an ANGUS chemistry, we expect that it will fall similar to that of which you've seen in CoreGuard 95, but not to the level of the CoreGuard EXT, which you may be familiar with. At this point, research samples are available of this chemistry, and we're happy to help get one to your lab to begin formulating with this. It will be released very shortly under its new CoreGuard name. And again, research samples are available, widely registered chemistry. So with that, ANGUS is your technical resource. We understand that you're working in a very different dynamic. We understand that you have different changing landscape that you have to work in, and this complex system and this roadmap that you have to create to land in this spot. We're continuing to study our portfolio and understand how we can create a more tailored solution for you, using our chemistries at different treat rates to achieve staining with very low treat rates, or using our chemistries in combination with those that you're already familiar with in the amine package to create something different in fluid longevity to address the changes in the biocide landscape, such as BIT, and how we can create biocide chemistries that last as long as what we had seen previously in our formulations. What we're trying to understand and what we're trying to help you in your formulations with is that we know that we can't meet all of these. This is your formulation, it's your technology. But what we can do is hopefully help you get to this space a little bit faster. And with that, we will look forward to innovating with you. Again, my Portuguese is not very good, but I am open to questions, and of course will be available at the booth with my colleagues who do speak Portuguese, and you'll actually get to hear from one of them here very soon in the presentation regarding aluminum staining and those different treat rates I was discussing. So Thank you again, or obrigado, for joining today, and have a great rest of the conference.